Welcome to Ira's Everything Bagel, where I talk with intriguing people about everything, their passions, pursuits, and points of view. My guest today is a man known for not only his writing skills and his sense of humor, but also for his passion for humor, charity, eclectic eyewear, and unique t-shirts. The one, the only, Bruce Vilanch. For everything about Bruce, hello. I was going to mention, for everything about Bruce, go to wegotbruce.com, and you can follow him on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And officially, Bruce, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm thrilled. I and my eclectic eyewear are thrilled to be here.
Now, first of all,
checking my lighting.
First of all, what were you thinking agreeing to come on my show?
Yeah, they said Vegas. Something about Vegas. Something. He's in Vegas. I thought, well, okay. Anybody who's in Vegas deserves compassion.
Exactly. Even though
I've been there many times and needed it.
Even though this show is more about the world of ideas and people, but yes, I am in Las Vegas. So, which branch of Hollywood are you part of? Reform, conservative, or orthodox?
As it applies to Hollywood?
Yes, of course.
My God.
Or atheist in your case.
I think I'm Reconstructionist.
I like it.
Yeah, it's it's a different sect.
Exactly.
From all of them. We're building back from the ashes.
And eventually you'll get there, hopefully. I thought about you for a while about this because I've never seen it show up in any of your conversations that I've been able to listen to or watch. But you strike me as an old soul. So my question is, do you feel an emotional connection with the comedy and the comedians of the Catskills?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Well, I mean, partially because I'm of that age. You know, I was watching Billy Crystal, who I've worked with for years, was on Colbert the other night. He was talking about the comic he plays in Mr. Saturday Night. Buddy Young Jr. has been kind of an obsession of his over the years because we grew up in that era where we grew up in New York and Jersey, and we went to the Catskills and we saw those guys when we were young and impressionable. And that was the predominant style. In the course of my maturing, a whole other style came in, a whole sort of a very hip political Dick Gregory, Mort Saul, Shelley Berman, Bob Newhart, guys who were not in the Milton Berle, Alan King, tradition. So we were also influenced by that, George Carlin. So there was so it evolved, but yeah, it's still there, and especially with what was on television when we were kids, and we were watching television a lot when we were kids.
Sure, Ed Sullivan and all the comedians that came on there.
Yeah, all those shows.
Were you a fan of Jackie Mason?
Yeah, I was always a fan of Jackie Mason, and I was annoyed that Ed Sullivan had sort of blacklisted him. And then, and I was thrilled when he had a comeback. And then I actually got to know him a little bit and be friends with him. And he was a tough customer. He was a mercurial guy. And as he got so successful later in life, and he just kept doing shows, and he, I think, had a hard time finding material because his material got angry and racist, and it weirdly took on a lot of colors it never had before. And I think that unfortunately a lot of people remember him from that period when he was a big star, but it was already on the wane, and so he was like trying to be contemporary. That's not unusual. I mean, it happened to Joan Rivers also. I wrote for Joan, and after Edgar died, she had to reframe herself. Right. And among the things that happened was she discovered working for audience. Well, she discovered that gossip and making fun of celebrities, because she couldn't make fun of herself anymore. So, or of her husband. So she that became her stock in trade. And then as she got older and she wants to connect with a younger audience, she got really dirty. And I remember my mother and her card game went to see her in Jersey. And my mother called me up and said, "When did she get the mouth on her? She's filthy. She's filthy. She used to be filthy. She wasn't filthy in Miami and the Concord. She wasn't filthy then." So I said, well, the times they are changing.
Yes, and the people are if they want to keep going. So in that sense, yeah. You mentioned your mom. You have a great relationship with her. You've always been connected with your mom, even you went to Ohio from the East Coast with a bunch of people and eventually went to Hollywood. But you've always had this very strong relationship with your mom. Was she a tough cookie, but very supportive? Would that be the good combination?
Well, she's gone now. She left at 95.
I'm sorry,
her joke was, the first 90 years are easy. The second 90 that's when she began to decline, but she was herself until the end. She was just a prisoner of her body. But she was my adopted mother. She adopted me when I was 4 days old, and I just found my birth mother, who died shortly after my adopted mother died, ironically enough. But that whole family finally surfaced after 7 years of spitting into a cup. But yeah, I mean, she was very controlling, and she was a tough customer, but she was really funny. And my parents encouraged me. I mean, they enabled me because they recognized I was happy when I was making faces in front of the mirror, and I was happy when I was performing. I was a child actor, never a child star, or we'd be in rehab having this group.
Right, exactly.
But so they never stood in the way. They were hoping I would find something that would produce income, So they knew I wouldn't be a doctor like my father, but they were nudging me into trial law because they figured, well, he can perform in court like Perry Mason, and but I didn't want to work a room that small. Ironically, now I do frequently. That's another story.
You mentioned a child actor, not a child star, and I just thought had you been a child star, it would have been the Bruce Vilanch law instead of the Jackie Cooper law.
Well, no, because my parents would not have taken advantage. The thing about, I mean, any money I made as a child actor went into Bruce's college fund, so it was not. They were not living off of me. The thing about Jackie Cooper and Jackie Coogan and
right.
A lot of other people not named Jackie who were kids was that that was the family revenue. They were all making money off of the kid, and so it was a whole different thing. The kid was a commodity. This was not the case in my family.
Well, I mentioned about moving from the East Coast, New Jersey, New York, to Ohio, where amazingly you went to Ohio State. And then
I did the big farm.
The big farm. And so that, I think, was in a way good because it exposed you to people that a lot of people that live and work in Hollywood never get exposed to, which is, in a way, middle America. So I think it gives you that.
Well, a lot of people in Hollywood have run away from that. They were exposed to it when they were young, and they said they were getting out.
But by moving there voluntarily, I should point out, with a bunch of other people, you at least absorb some of that, what I would call middle American culture, which I think, and you may disagree, does that help your writing or doesn't help your writing?
Well, yeah, I lived in the Midwest for 10 years. I went to Ohio State for 5 years, and then I got a job at the Chicago Tribune. And Chicago, even though it's a big cosmopolitan city, is the Midwest. And, it constantly shows up. Certainly in the politics. I mean, at the Trib, we had a sign saying, remember that the southernmost point of Illinois is 100 miles from the northernmost point of Mississippi. So it was a whole different mindset. And Chicago is a blue metropolis in an essentially red state. So it certainly, it helped seeing how the other half lived, But I got to Ohio and met people who thought Jews had horns.
Wait a minute, they don't? Oh, okay. Okay.
Why are there so many plastic surgeons?
To remove the horns.
Thank you. Bingo. But I met a lot of people who had never met a Jew in their life.
Amazing.
And there they were in Columbus, Ohio, where ironically a kid I grew up with became the rabbi. Harold Berman is still the rabbi. I think he just retired.
There are communities in America where there are people that have never met a non-Jew.
Well, only in Brooklyn, I think.
Well, I think there's more than one besides that. It's got to be somewhere else in the United States besides Brooklyn. I may be wrong.
Yeah, well, we're all the guys who work for Walmart, Bentonville, Arkansas, where they have an Orthodox Jewish community composed of accountants who work for Sam Walton.
So here's a non sequitur question. Do you think that Delhi will survive?
Oh yeah, well, I think that the concept of a deli will survive. I mean, I think there's a lot more kosher style than there is kosher. I mean, the old school version of a deli, the kosher deli, where you can't get milk, can't get cream for your coffee. That I'm afraid may be going away because I don't think a lot of people observe it. Or I mean, as many balchuvas as there are, which is a balchuva is a French word meaning return to the fold. The balchuvas who are living more orthodox lives maintain kashrut, but I don't know that there's a market for a kosher deli outside of the very, very Jewish centers.
Well, what about secular?
But my idea of deli, I mean, I think it's become, a universal thing. Bagels are certainly universal. Lox is universal.
Right.
I mean, all that kind of stuff.
Well, I guess I'm saying is like Nate and Al is not kosher, or Factors in L.A. It's not kosher, but it's a deli that's part of the community, and people get there.
I mean, sure. It's a style, absolutely.
Right.
But I grew up with kosher. All the delis were kosher. I mean, that was and anything else they would put on the menu kosher style. Which, meant it was not actually kosher meat, but it was
kosher style.
They prepared it like it was kosher style. But we weren't kosher. We were those Jews who would go to the movies on Sunday and then have Chinese. That was our ritual. So and it wasn't like kosher Chinese, which has always made me laugh.
Right.
But
that was my aside question or my non sequitur question. But back to Bruce himself.
Yeah.
Of all the acting and writing and performing that you've done, what was the most meaningful for you? Maybe there's more than one, maybe there's two or three, within the context of humor, of course.
Well, the most successful stuff was all the Academy Award shows and working with Bette Midler from the beginning and all of that. I mean, the most meaningful was the charity work. And when we started doing benefits, raising funds for AIDS, for people who had AIDS and for AIDS research, because when it started, it was a pariah and nobody wanted to touch it. And it was an uphill struggle, like Kate Bush. It was running up that hill. But it was very meaningful because so many people we knew were sick and dying, and the government was doing nothing. So it was almost the definition of meaningful. It was comedy with a purpose, and comic relief was like that too. There was a great. We did 15 of them, I think, and it was great to know that comedians, normally pictured as lighthearted individuals, when we all know they're angst-ridden, were taking up the cudgels for these causes that the government had abandoned.
And also, too, it wasn't, in your case, it was actually, nose to the grindstone or elbow to the whatever they call it. But the point is, it wasn't virtue signaling.
Pedal to the metal.
That's it, pedal to the metal. It wasn't virtue signaling. You were actually elbow grease. That's where I'm going with this. You were hardworking and putting these together. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. We did it. We were doing it. And at the beginning, it was I would go to people and I would say, "Well, I will do your disease if you will do mine." So that's how I got to be on first name basis with all the major diseases. Spina bifida, I know all about it. Ectopic pregnancies, I'm your guy. I got involved in every one of those things because it was a trade-off. Then they would come and do an AIDS fundraiser.
Sure. Now, as long as you didn't catch all those diseases you traded off with, that's the important thing.
Well, yeah, exactly right. But now there are so many new diseases to catch. Oh, no, monkeypox. Oh, no. I thought it was a band.
I thought it was too in the 60s. I think it was like
I remember that.
Yeah, of course.
Hey, the monkeypox. People say we monkeypox around.
Is there? I'm always amazed that because of your ability to write and perform comedy, and you just having a natural sense of humor, that you were able to put together all these charitable fundraising events, because that does require a different skill set and a different mind focus.
But it is show business. I mean, you're putting on a show, and it starts with that. It's Mickey and Judy, and we have costumes in the barn.
Right.
People. So you just have to. It's focused on a particular thing, and obviously you choose things that will help hammer home the point of why you're raising this money. But it's still show business.
I see what you're saying, but it still took getting off the couch, making phone calls, getting people to agree to handle the mechanics, the financial end of it. Yeah, the show part I get, but still you had to set up the organization.
Well, yeah, that's producing.
Right.
Something I never really enjoyed doing, and I never. That's why I never became a producer or a director, because I didn't have the ego for that. You really have to, have strong belief in everything you say and willingness to go forward. And I just like to write and perform. And I never had anything that I wrote screwed up by a director enough that I was angry enough to become one.
Right. No, I get you.
A lot of writers do that, that they say, he screwed my script. The hell, I'm gonna direct the next one.
Now, there's one category in Hollywood, and I say this from afar. There's one category in Hollywood that is a testament to ego, and that is the title of executive producer. And I've noticed more and more movies and TV shows, they'll have one director, they'll have one producer, a co-producer, a consulting producer, a supervising producer, and then over 20 million executive producers.
Yeah. Well, that's basically two things. Basically, executive producer traditionally has been a way to give somebody who controls the rights to the material a title. And a lot of it had to do with if you could maybe win an award for this if you had a title, as opposed to just being the guy behind the scenes. So you would see if a star was attached, his manager would be an executive producer, because that way, and that also cut him in for some money. So that's one thing. And the other thing is that on television, there are a lot of writers on shows, and they're all at different pay grades. And so the different pay grades dictate that they're going to be this kind of producer and that kind of producer and all that. And so it's just sort of madness, but it's all attached to the money, where the money is coming from.
I'm glad you explained it. I always wondered about that. I kept seeing all these.
Well, it became so prevalent that the Producers Guild, which is, as you might guess, an organization of producers, has been giving awards for years. And I've been writing their show, which is never televised. We Zoomed it year before last, but I write it, and they started something called the Producer's Mark, which you will be noticing more and more. It'll say produced by so-and-so, and next to it, it'll go PGA.
Yes.
And that means you've seen that the Producers Guild has determined this is the person who actually produced the movie,
right,
as opposed to the person who wrote a check so that the picture could get made. He gets a producer title also, but he doesn't get the producer's mark. And that was to signify that there's a difference between all those
That's
things.
A smart idea. It's a guild designation similar to the Cinematographers Guild and
the ASC. Yeah, they've had it for years and years.
Smart idea.
But that was to denote that they were a member of the union of the ASC, the Association of Cinematographers. It's not. This is a little different because this has a subtext. Yes, they're members of the guild, but they're all members of the guild. But these are the ones who actually made it happen.
Yeah, exactly. Now you've been in business so long that you've become a sage in a way. Do you?
Yes. I'm growing a beard so I can.
I like it.
Made my sage session.
And do you? Obviously, the industry has changed since you started in it. Are you of the firm belief or the infirm belief, since you recently had, is that, are you of the firm belief that talent will out? And what I mean by that is this, that someone who's extremely talented as you are, who can write and perform comedy, will always be in demand no matter how the industry changes? Or does it get to a point where the industry changes so much that all of a sudden they just want Real Housewives, so to speak?
Well, you're talking about two different things. I mean, reality television happened thanks to the Writers Guild, and when we went on strike, I think in 1988, probably maybe later. I've been on 8 strikes with the Writers Guild since 1975, so I get the strikes confused. But one of them opened up reality television because the studios and the networks realized that you could do reality TV cheaper than scripted TV and eliminate writers altogether, or hire writers as consultants or hire them as producers, and they had writing duties. And the Guild lost that one because it proliferated. When streaming came in, the scripted material came back. There was a hunger for it on the streamers. And so now it's become like the new golden age. So a lot of that had to do with the mechanics of the industry. On the other issue, there will always be, if you're talented, yes, you'll always be talented, and there will be somebody. But you get aged out. I mean, you're at a point where there are younger versions of you. I mean, it used to be a joke about the actors. We'd like a younger Macaulay Culkin, or I'm trying to think of we'd like a younger Justin Bieber.
We'd like a younger Jackie Cooper. Oh, wait a minute.
A younger Jackie Cooper, a younger baby Huey, and you get aged out because they think, oh well, even if you're at iconic status, they kind of think, well, he's hip, but we need somebody, young. And now, of course, the last few years with where people are so woke that they're insomniacs, it's just get me somebody diverse. Get me an Eskimo lesbian. I mean, please, staff it so that nobody pickets.
Well, I have an idea for you.
So you wind up getting people who are talented, but a lot of people who are also talented are on the outside. And I suppose that is the yin and the yang, because these people were always marginalized. And there you have it.
So what you could do, I have a great idea for you, Bruce. It's almost a new blacklist. So you could write under the name of an Eskimo lesbian.
Well, it's the front. It's the Woody Allen movie. It goes back to the Blacklist days, where blacklisted writers would, shove the material under the door and somebody else's name would be on the page. And then 50 years later, when they're dead and buried, their grandchildren accept an Oscar in their behalf as their credit is restored.
Well, that's why I'm suggesting it for you, is if you write under a pen name of an Eskimo lesbian, then you'll be fine, as you mentioned earlier.
I had a collaborator. He was a wonderful writer, worked a lot for Bob Hope. And he wrote a lot of variety television years ago. But he wasn't very happy with a lot of the stuff that he wrote. So he created an alter ego and a pen name, basically, and which you can do at the Writers Guild. And you can say, I want to write this under my pen name. And there has to be a name that appears. So he used the same pen name over and over. And he called me one day and he said, my accountant just told me that my pen name got more work last year than I did.
Hey, if the checks keep coming in.
And it was all for the kind of crap he didn't want to write, Not like Wayne Newton at SeaWorld. He just was not interested in doing it. But he liked the money.
Right, of course.
So he created the alter ego.
That's so funny. You mentioned collaborating with someone, and that's part of what you do a lot. And you are one of those people, again, ego aside, you are very much involved in collaborative writing, especially for the Oscars and other events. And
I'm in a lot of rooms.
Yeah, in a lot of rooms.
A lot of rooms.
So how does that, if you can give us in a shorthand version, your process, without getting too technical, for when you're collaborating versus when you're at home writing and looking at the screen? Well,
writing is a very lonely profession. And when you're home and you're looking at the screen, it's just you and the characters, or whatever the task at hand is. And you get to what I call the alpha state, which is where you don't care about anything else. You're totally lasered in on what you're doing. And that's wonderful. And that's the gratifying part of writing. That's akin to actually being on stage and being in the moment, or on camera being in the moment. You don't get the response the way you do in the theater, or even from the crew on a shoot. But it's a great thing. And the collaborative part is appeals to the performance side of me, because when you're in a room with people, generally you are working on something that somebody else has already written a first draft of, and you're punching it up. You're making the jokes funnier, you're shifting, you're doing stuff. And so you get a chance to actually pitch. You get a chance to actually say the stuff. And some people are real great performers in the room. And and it's fun and it's collaborative, and you get a great charge out of it. So I'm lucky in that I've had a nice balance of all of that. I mean, performing for real and writing by myself and writing with a lot of other people. I suspect the stuff that you write with a lot of other people, it doesn't necessarily last through the ages. But I stopped caring about that when I realized I wasn't going to be around anyway. So when you confront your own mortality, you say a lot of stuff gets swept out of the way then.
Understood. Any future projects, speaking of immortality or even the future?
Yes, I wrote a musical. I will tell you about it because we are premiering it in September. During COVID, a friend of mine and I, a director, had an idea, and we pitched it to a theater in Florida, which had the PPP, a payroll protection thing. And as part of the PPP, you had to develop new work. So we got a grant. And it's about a guy who's 40 years old. He's gay. He's a would-be comic working as a waiter at a comedy club in New York. And COVID hits, and the club closes, and his relationship breaks up. And he goes to quarantine in the attic of his parents' home in Longview, Texas, where he has an intimate relationship with his imaginary friend, Dolly Parton. So it's this guy and Dolly, and we used all of Dolly's music, 15 Dolly's songs. And we did a Zoom, and they loved it in Florida, and they wanted to book it. And so I had to go to Dolly for the rights to the music. And I thought, well, it's not her brand, so she probably won't. She'll shoot it down. She loved it.
That's great.
She's now my partner. She's in on it now.
Of course,
so
that's Dolly.
We're doing it in 7 regional theaters, one in Nashville next spring, where she will unveil it. But we actually premiere it September 17th in Wilmington, Delaware, where the Bidens are subscribers. I hope he wears a mask. On September 17th, Delaware Theater Company in Wilmington. And then it will go to various other cities. It's called Here You Come Again, which is, of course, one of her big hits. And it's also, she keeps showing up in his mind.
That's great. And of course, she's going to go to the opening.
Well, I don't know. She'll go to Wilmington. She may hold off and wait until Nashville, which is her home turf. Exactly. I haven't discussed it with her. She's very busy. I said, I can't believe you're doing this in between curing cancer and doing a moon landing. And what has she done? Amazing. Every week there's a new thing about Dolly did this and Dolly did that.
Well, that's a great way to leave it. My guest has been the versatile and talented Bruce Vilanch. For everything about Bruce, go to wegotbruce.com, and you can follow him on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And Bruce, thanks for being on the show.
Wow. Oh, I'm delighted. Thank you. It was fun.
It was. And join us every Thursday for a new schmear on Ira's Everything Bagel.